Hi, my name is Myles Katherine and I'm a photographer and fine artist based in Richmond, Virginia. I've been doing photography for about 10 years now professionally. I started in college. That was kind of when I got obsessed with it. I took my first darkroom class and really got into film photography, and one of our teachers recommended we buy this camera called the Holga, which is a little toy camera. This is one right here actually. They're basically just like plastic toy cameras, but I shot my first roll of film with this and accidentally took 2 photos on top of each other, and it was a double exposure, and I was just like so freaked out by it. I was like, this is so weird looking and creepy, and that kind of catapulted my interest in this camera, and I started shooting tons of double exposures, and that kind of became like my favorite thing to do. Then we moved to Portland, Oregon for 7 years, me and my husband, and there I kind of got into fashion photography and wedding photography, and I started shooting with tons of different types of film cameras. Now I just take my Holga with me everywhere I go. It's my favorite camera, and I use it for fashion shoots and weddings and all kinds of stuff. It's like my soul in a camera. It's really an important part of my work. We recently moved back to Richmond, Virginia, and since I've been here, the pandemic happened and all of that, so I've been able to kind of work on other personal projects. I kind of focused on traveling and doing a lot of portraits with my husband, just kind of us two going out and exploring and taking photos. And also I just finished writing my first book. It's a project I've been wanting to work on for like over a decade, and I finally, because of the pandemic, was able to sit down and write it. So I'm really grateful for that time that I had. And it's a series of personal essays about my life, mainly focusing on my struggles with my mental health. I have anxiety, panic disorder, and OCD. So it's definitely been difficult to do a lot of things, and sometimes I get stuck in my house and I'm scared to leave. But the point is that photography is really kind of the reason that I push myself to go out and do things. I mean, I love cameras, I love photography, I love film photography. My book kind of shares my journey with art and how photography has kind of allowed me to accomplish my goals and my creative dreams, even with my mental health issues. So it's definitely a very personal story, but I'm really excited to share it with the world. And right now I'm in the editing stages, but hopefully it'll be out for everybody to read soon. I would say I'm most inspired by fashion and landscapes and shapes and nature. I feel like my work kind of blends all those things together. I definitely feel like composition is something that is just part of my soul and what I'm constantly searching for when I'm photographing. I'm definitely inspired by traveling. Being in a new location is really exciting to me. It definitely sparks my creativity and makes me really excited to photograph. I get bored very easily when I'm shooting the same locations over and over again. So I'd say that's definitely a huge part of my work, is just making sure that I'm inspired by the location that I'm in. I'd say I'm also inspired by quiet and simplicity. I'm introverted and I like my quiet time, my alone time, so I feel like a lot of my, especially my recent work, is definitely focusing on loneliness and quiet and simplicity. We go to the beach a lot, we travel to like mountains and quiet places, and a lot of my work is just kind of me or my husband in those landscapes. And that's really what I enjoy the most, is really just traveling, just the two of us, and taking photos. Because sometimes photo shoots, like fashion shoots, can be stressful, so I'm my most happiest when I'm just traveling and taking photos just with me and him. And so definitely my latest work is a huge reflection of that, especially because of the pandemic and just being at home and only being able to kind of travel near our house. I would say I stay motivated by going on lots of walks and cooking and baking and eating healthy and staying healthy physically and mentally. It's definitely very important. I also spend lots of time with my husband and my cat, and trying to just be outside and be in nature as much as possible. I always find that that clears my head and just helps me to see what I need to focus on, and it just takes me away from my to-do lists and all the things that I want to do and need to do. I've learned my threshold for stress is a lot lower than normal people's, so I have to be careful. It's a delicate balancing act, especially because photography is not only my passion, but it's my job too, so I have to make sure I don't get burnt out. I spend a lot of time meditating and journaling and doing a lot of self-reflection, writing. I just try to remember that you only live once and it's important to live in the moment and be grateful for every moment that you have. And yeah, so I hope you do the same. Burn.
Give her time to like space.
I can't, my body goes like this.
Yeah, I know.
Please stop staring at me.
Finish, do the end of your.
Can I just see how ugly I look? Help me.
What was wrong with that? What's wrong with you?
It's hot in here.
It's already hot.
All right, let's do the intro.